Oh, hi, cheeky monkeys.
Get on with it.
Toppy.
It's Bergkamp.
Hashtag fuck tennis.
That's magnificent.
Hello, John.
Up and down.
Well done. Bye-bye.
Be like the Arsenal. Be ambitious. Come on.
Hello and welcome to Bergkamp Wonderland. We are an Arsenal podcast, and tonight we are joined by Mark Andrews and Gav to talk about Mark's book that he wrote with Matthew Bazell. I had it written down, but it's at the top of all my notes. So you wrote a book with Matthew Bazell about the Arsenal songs and Arsenal chant. The book is called We've Only Got One Song, Arsenal Terrace Songs and Chants. So first of all, gentlemen, thank you very much for both joining me. And Gav's going to behave himself for the entire show, aren't you, Gav?
Scout's honour.
Right, so first of all, where can people get the book and when's it coming out, Mark?
It's already out in that Legends Publishing have got it on their website, but the first tranche of books have sold out. That's why it's gone back a bit on Amazon, because he had to print some more to give to Amazon, basically. So at Amazon, it's coming out, I think, on the 12th. It was originally late November, but it's on the 12th. So it'll be on Amazon or Legends Publishing, who basically published it.
You can pre-order the book off Amazon, though, can't you? They are selling it at the moment.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
You just have to wait till the 12th and then it'll be delivered after that, yeah?
Yeah.
And if you go to our YouTube channel or our website and indeed the Facebook page, then we can put a little URL there to link you to the publishers and the Amazon one if you want to get it from there. Right. First question I've got for you. What gave you the idea to write this book?
Well, Matt, really. I was doing stuff, the Royal Arsenal stuff and the complete stuff. And then I got an email from Matt out of the blue, and he just said about what's the history behind certain Arsenal songs. And I sort of didn't really know. So I looked into a lot of it and it became quite interesting. Sent him loads of stuff. From that, he then said, do you want to write it with me? So I thought, well, that's a good idea. A bit different to what I normally do with Andy and the Arsenal history. It wasn't as vigorous, shall we say, on some of the stuff, because it was just songs of its chart. It's terrace history, basically. So basically, yeah, Matt come up with it. And then we got a bit more into the history of it, because he had lots of knowledge of the 80s and 90s chants. Started speaking to a lot of different people, Kelvin and Gary the Gooner, and they gave us 60s and 70s chants. And then Matt started looking around different websites, found different stuff. We got stuff from Gav, got stuff from Davey Boyd, other people, and it just grew from there, basically.
Right, Gav, when you've got some questions, Gav, so whenever you've got one, just tell me to shut up and then you come in with one, right?
Yeah, no, go on after you, mate.
Lovely. My next question, Mark, is how did you find the chants from so many years back? Now, I know you're pretty skilled for all the other Arsenal history books that you've written of going back and finding old newspapers and things like that. So how did you go and find all the old chants? Because I doubt very much anybody brought a book out, did they? And there's very little video or audio going back all those days, because I think the oldest one you said you found was 1892.
Yeah, 1892, Terrara Bumdier, the Arsenal's Won Today, which is basically a musical song. So It's not a chant, it's a song. But I mean, from when I wrote The Crowd as my dissertation for a degree in 1990, if you actually concentrate on what the crowd does and what our crowd behaves, you can look at certain things like, is there any violence, any verbal stuff? How they react to a goal, the opposition scoring, etc., etc. And one of the big things that I found in the crowd, I was expecting, was a lot of singing, a lot of chants, a lot of dancing, etc., etc. So I just really looked at the papers again, Kentish Times, Woolwich Gazette, and the one I found was Terrara Bumdier, the Arsenal's Won Today, and I looked into it a bit more, and they did sing it a hell of a lot of times because it was mentioned more than once. I did find papers alluding to stuff before 1892, but they didn't actually explicitly say what they were. That's why we've said in the book it's the earliest recorded chant. We know they sang before that.
Would it have been sort of popular? I guess back then it would be the music halls in London, wouldn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Would they have sort of sung just the popular popular songs at the time, so to speak, like much the way that Liverpool in the 60s used to sing Beatles songs?
Yes, completely. Virtually every single book and every single song that we've got in the book from the Plumstead era is based around a music hall. Okay. and they're virtually all American songs, to be honest. Virtually none of them were all emanated from America. It's really bizarre. I wasn't expecting that at all, to be honest. But that's how it happened. The other thing I found was they used to do the Pompey chimes, the Westminster Quarter chimes, as it's called. So they do, you've got same old Arsenal always winning, or opponents do same old Arsenal always cheating, or as you say, taking the piss. They had Play Up Arsenal, which was, I'm not sure whether it was before Portsmouth. I think it was probably slightly after. But they used that quite a lot. That was in quite a lot of the early stuff. But you're right. Most of it's musical, adapted to musical. But the Terrara Bundio one was the first one, or one of the only ones that was specifically Arsenalised. The rest of them, they just seemed to sing because they just sang them as songs.
So if that was in 1892, and you said there was some before then, do you think there was a time in football where there was no songs? And if there was, what did people do?
The 1930s is really odd. The interwar period between the First World War and Second World War, the only time they seemed to have sung was groups of people going from the pub, getting pissed up and doing their own singing. Didn't seem to be any terrace chanting or singing. Was really in the FA Cups. I mean, and Tom Watt in the end, he comments on it because he talked to people and they commented on it and they said, because he wrote it sort of in the 90s, didn't he? Whatever, maybe a bit later. But someone commented and said, who was there in the 30s and in the 70s, said it was completely and utterly different. There wasn't singing. The singing really came back in the sort of mid to late 60s with the growth of pop music.
Is there a reason for that?
The growth of pop music, in my view.
No, I mean, is there a reason why they'd stopped while they were doing it in the pre-war days and in the interwar days?
I think from the perspective of it was after a war, I think it might have had a bit more. I don't know, a bit more serious things like that. I don't know. There's nothing obvious. It's really odd. We looked for it, and we looked for them, and we looked for them, and you just cannot find them. The only places you can find them is in the cup finals.
So in the when the World Wars were on, we had the London League, didn't we? So was there any chanting then?
No, they were too busy fighting darts.
So I often think if I had a time machine, I'd like to lend it to you, so you could go back and fill out all the holes you have in the Arsenal history. So when I do invent one, I shall lend it to you.
But there's the 2 times to go, isn't there? There's 1886 to see the first. Well, actually, I'd prefer to go from October to see the whole way up to December, how they formed properly.
Yeah,
a bit like the barman in the pub.
Yeah, yes, yeah, or work at Woolwich Arsenal.
Yeah,
work at the Woolwich Arsenal and find that out. Or the 30s, really. They're the 2 best times.
Years.
Yeah. I'd like to go back to watch the fella who painted the clock to a 12-hour, 24-hour clock. That's what I'd go back to.
You would, because you love that clock, don't you?
I love that clock.
Another thing I've got written down is that songs from years ago were often very long compared to modern ones. How did they all remember them? Did they have practice sheets or notes, or did they get together before games and go over it? Because some of them. I think you make a note in one of the pages about one of the songs. You put, "No wonder this one didn't catch on." And it was about 30 lines long.
Oral history, I suppose. People didn't have computers, so they used to learn. They did better memories. People used to learn songs, didn't they? They used to learn scripts, learn lines. You didn't have social media to put you off. You didn't have a telly, etc., etc. It was different times, and they did different things.
I guess plus you'd imagine that the local. I mean, you've only got to go back sort of 20, 30 years, and it was the local pubs around the ground were packed most nights of the week, not just when we play.
Absolutely,
so I guess a lot of it would have been just from a normal, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night. Yeah,
the entertainment would have been piano and sing song. So they would know the songs because that was what they did.
And I suppose now in this modern age of having their face stuck in their phones, giving monosyllabic replies to everything, in 20 years' time, Arsenal chants will be one word. And they won't even be watching the game; they'll be looking down at their phones. That's what the place has got to come.
If you think about it, they are now, aren't they? You know,
far off.
Arsenal.
Right. Oh, here's an interesting one. We all know at the Arsenal, there's this woman who shouts, "Come on, you Gunners!" And I was reading in the book, there was a bloke called Rip Roar. So, was that the prequel to the woman who shouts, "Come on, you Gunners"? Because didn't they used to include him in part of the songs?
I did indeed, yes.
Tell us about him. Or don't tell us all. Just tweak our nipples a little bit on a little bit of a story about him, because the rest of it's in the book. Don't tell too much.
No, he was just a bloke who said, "Come on, you Rip Roaring Gunners" at the start and during games, basically.
But didn't the other fans try and get him to join in? Like, they'd do a bit, then he'd do a bit.
We'd ask him to sing a song. I mean, there was a song, Rip Roar, give us the song.
Yeah.
And then everyone, shh. And then he would start a song off and everyone would join in. But I never saw him. I remember hearing him. I remember him from sort of around 86 to about 88, 89, because they were sort of the 3 years where I was possibly in sort of like the middle of the North Bank the most often. It would have been around that sort of time, but it was Rip Roar, give us a song. Shh. And then he would sort of like start off a song and everyone would join in, or sometimes he would start a song and everyone would tell him to shut up and stuff like that. And it was much the same with Maria as well. She used to get a fair amount of stick.
Yeah, I've noticed that a couple of times. People would shout abuse and then they get told to shut up.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I say, I remember Rip Roar Maria about the same sort of time, but she would shout out exactly the same as what she shouts out now. Come on, the Arsenal. Oh, well, shut up. I mean, especially if we was like losing or playing badly. It was just like, she used to get a bit of stick over that, bless her.
I only ever saw her once at one of the games at Highbury. She was drawing the numbers, so she went and stood right in front of me in the East Stand, and she was drawing the numbers. And I was surprised how old she was and how short she was. With those kind of lungs, you expected her to be a bit of a giant. So it was very surprising. You got anything to say about that?
Now, isn't she?
Yes, she still goes. I saw a picture. Someone took a picture of her on Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
She was on. She's on the new Adidas advert for the Bruised Banana kit.
Oh, is she?
Yeah.
Mark, do you want to cover a little bit, without going into too much detail, about some of the chants that won't be in the book? And because there's quite a few from the 70s and 80s that are unacceptable, isn't there? So you couldn't put those in because people will be asking.
We started thinking, shall we put them in? And then we discussed it quite a lot. And then we thought that we wouldn't do any anti-Semitic songs whatsoever. So, no, there are none at all in the book.
Even if it's just using the YID word. And so even, I know you do a page and a half explaining that if the word wasn't used in a mean way, it still doesn't make it acceptable nowadays. So that was an interesting section of the book. So that's another thing people can go and dig out. So off the top of your head, do you know what player had the most songs, even if they were just variants of each other?
Probably Charlie George, I thought. Or Charlie first.
Tony Adams.
Yeah, Tony did.
We were talking about the asking about some of the chants that I remember, like the Martin Keown, he's got a monkey's head, and there was, and he said, I thought that was brilliant because he loved it. And then I remember one time we were singing to Matthew Letitia, he's got a fucking big nose. I personally love the controversial section as it appeals to my kind of dark humour. Was there limits to what you could put in that bit, because that kind of crosses over with the word that we don't use songs, wasn't it? So that's a very fine line between those two things.
Well, no, we'd have put those in the Spurs. We originally were going to put those in the Spurs section, but then we just basically went no, line for everything. You got to draw. There comes a point when you have to draw a line. You have to basically say, we're not going to do that. But controversy stuff, I mean, it's just
fair game.
Yeah, I mean, it's only stuff basically slagging off Wenger, isn't it, and stuff, and Kroenke, which is probably quite apt at the moment.
That was one of your questions, wasn't it, Gav? When was the first one about?
Yeah. I said, yeah, when was there, like I say, I know there was, because I'm too young to remember all the the stuff when Terry Neal had demonstrations against his management. Was there any sort of like songs against the board or the manager before Terry Neal?
There was indeed, yes. There was Billy Wright, basically, in the 60s. Started off well, a bit of a disaster in his last two seasons. And they were just basically chanting things like "Right must go," "We want a manager,"
Right out, Billy, right out.
It may well have been. It may well have been that. But the one that I actually enjoyed most was because he sold Joe Baker just before he got sacked in early '66. Joe Baker was really, really popular with the fans. And what people used to do. Wasn't
he the top scorer at the time or something?
He scored 100. I think he scored 100 goals and won 5-6 games. So yeah, he scored a lot of goals. Put it that way in 4 seasons. So he didn't do bad. And he was a really good player. Everyone loved him, etc., etc. But what fans used to do in those days a lot was go to Arsenal one week and Spurs the next, and obviously support the opponents against Spurs playing. And one of the times, just after Baker was sold, a lot of people went to White Hart Lane, and they started chanting "Bring back Joe Baker to us," and they actually sang it at White Hart Lane, not at Highbury. Obviously, they did it at Highbury afterwards, but it was first heard at White Hart Lane, which I thought was, I thought that was a really interesting bit. But it was quite vitriolic against Wright. I mean, Peter Story's autobiography mentions it about how bad it got. So it was, when people say, Arsenal, it's the Arsenal ways and not to do this and that, it's nonsense because, if you read anything from the Plumstead era, the actual amount of vitriol that was heaped upon the committee and then managers is nothing compared to what you hear now. It was industrial language, as it were.
So we've always been a bunch of moaning bastards then?
Pretty much, yeah. I'd say.
No, I always say that. I always say, it's in your DNA as an Arsenal supporter to actually be a moaning bastard. If you don't moan about much, then I don't see your link to Arsenal, really.
No, that's exactly. I mean, it's
I mean, you two are two of the biggest moaning bastards I know. So
just because you couldn't get your computer to work or your headphones to work, don't blame us.
They're your headphones, mate.
Shush.
They're your headphones.
I don't know that. That was your Christmas present. Shush. I was saying about the Monkey's Head one. That's not in there. I mean, there's going to be so many songs that maybe. I know one song that was only ever sung once. It was Arsenal v Chelsea. I think we were playing in the League Cup. And we had Stephen Hughes and they had Mark Hughes, and we were singing "There's Only One Hughes in London." There must have been so many songs like that where they were only ever sung once that you couldn't include.
Well, we haven't pretended that we've got every song.
Oh, that'd be impossible, wouldn't it?
It would be, exactly. It would be, and like you say, if you're not at that game and it's not reported and no one actually says it to you, no one comes to you and says this is songs here, etc., etc., you're not gonna know about it. But what we tried to do was get a fair smattering of songs that over the hit, that tells the story of the club to a point from the songs. So
it's like, because I mean, I haven't read the book yet because that's one of my Christmas presents from the kids. So, but like I say, so it does in a way tell sort of like the history of the club through the songs. And explains the songs and why they were happening, sort of thing. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah. That's exactly it. I mean, what we've done, we've put the lyrics. Tried pretty much virtually all of them. We worked out what the tune was and put that down. And then we sort of explained certain aspects of the song, whether it was a pop song, came from a pop song, and as other songs, if it was nicked from another club, that type of,
See, we had this earlier when Danny asked for listeners' questions earlier, and someone mentioned about the Ozil song, and the West Ham fans was saying that they were singing it first and we'd nick their song.
That was Nicky Wilson, that was it?
Yeah, I'm not sure it was. It was one of the people that replied on Twitter earlier, Dan.
Yeah, Nicky Wilson. Hold on, I'll ask a question. So it's from our mate Nicky Wilson. He says, "Hey Jude, stroke Giroud is my favourite song. Gave me goosebumps when we were singing it at the Emirates years ago. Do fans steal songs? A West Ham workmate said we've got Ozil from them and pay it." So there you go, Gav.
But apparently, Celtic was singing it before West Ham.
Oh, everyone.
I think everyone's bastardising everybody else's song, which is another question. My first question of the evening.
Whee.
Do you remember us singing "You'll Never Walk Alone"?
Me personally, no.
Don't you? Bloody hell.
No, it died out in the mid-70s. I'm not old.
No, I remember singing "You'll Never Walk Alone" at Arsenal, even when we weren't playing Liverpool in the mid to late 80s.
Really? Well, I don't remember that at all, mate. Don't remember that
But
at all.
whereas Liverpool sing it, we did what Arsenal supporters do and sung it faster and put a few claps in.
And legible.
So, and you know, walk alone, you're net, walk alone.
It's bad enough that we're trying to take that off them because we also take off. We had a part of our stadium called the Cop before they did, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we did. No. I mean, everyone used to sing that. Everyone used to sing "We Never Walk Alone," and then because it was from Liverpool, wasn't it? The people who sang it, the original pop song, and then basically they cleaned up everywhere, didn't they? So everyone thought, "Oh, so they can have the song." If it means that much to them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I honestly don't remember that, Gav. I don't remember hearing that at all.
Do you remember our sign-on version of it? Is that in the book?
There is a sign-on one.
Yeah, with hope in your heart.
With a pen in your hand.
It'll never work again. Some other ones another thing that a section I liked, and if I'd have wrote this book and done that, then I would have done loads of these. It's but obviously you couldn't do loads. Your song and chant log diary part. Were you tempted to do more? It's interesting the way that you were doing, the way that he's done it. People, you can go and have a look. I think he's done 5. Mark did those two. Mark and I've forgotten his name. I keep going to say Gary Brazil because he's got a Z in it. Matthew thingy. Oh, it's terrible. I have this problem with Sampdoria and Fiorentina. They sound the same, so I get them mixed up. But you go the date of the game, and you say then the announcer said this, and the announcer said that. Then there's this song. Then there's a pop song, and then in brackets illegible. And then halftime they're talking about the women's interview. Another song illegible, and then you're listing all the chants that are going all the way through the game from before the game starts until you leave. So what gave you the idea to do that? And I'd be interested in reading loads of those.
Well, basically, it shows you how long ago we started writing it.
2016 wasn't the first one.
Yeah. I just sort of went, because I shared my brother's season ticket in those heady days, and I just
You're the only person to call 2016 the heady days.
Those heady days of 4th place.
Those heady days of quarter fight. No, and I just was sitting there, and I just thought, I really don't enjoy this. I don't enjoy the start. The singing's boring, except so I just thought, well, I'll chart it. I'll chart what's wrong with what's wrong with the infotainment at the start. The appalling songs that they play. I mean, to be honest, it is a little bit better. They have improved it slightly. And then I just thought, well, how everyone says the Emirates is boring. Let's listen to what the away the away fans sing. And it basically grew from that, really. And I just thought, right, I'll just chart it. I'll see what songs they do. Because
it's really interesting the way you've done it.
Well, I could have done loads more, but to be honest with you, I got a bit bored with it because it's the same songs. It's not like I'm charting different songs, is it? That that was the thing that I did it for. I think was to see if there was any variation, and I think you only got variation in a big game, like against Man U or Spurs, or an FA Cup game. A normal run-of-the-mill game, you'd have about 12 to 15 chants. They're all the same. You hear them all the time, and it's like there's no originality, and then there's nothing. And it's just
the thing. I'd say it is a different world that we're looking in. It's a different world where you're going to games now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not 2:00 rumours in the pub that, you know, the ground's getting packed. If you're not in within half hour, you're going to get locked out. So everybody's in the ground by 2:30, and it's not kids, teenage kids turning up and running up and down the North Bank and that at 1:00 as soon as they open the gates, and no one's there. I mean, you look at like the ground when the players are warming up, no one's there. On a big game in the past, everybody's in the ground for 2:15. Everybody's acknowledging the players, so it's more of a sign of the times with regards to reserved seating in grounds, that it's actually come to this, really.
Oh yeah, it's not all Arsenal. I mean, we put a chapter at the end of the conclusion, which hopefully you read, Dan, which basically we try to chart why it's the songs are still, some of the songs are still pretty good, the invention's still there, but there's no, it's gone. And I mean, the key to it is seating, obviously. Because before, 200 of you could go, either 200 of you in a group, a gang or whatever, a group, you'd all be in the same area. You could start singing, you'd all singing out what was expected of you. In there, you're sitting next to someone that you don't know. You don't care whether they're there or not the next week.
I mean, I think the most I've sung in the current bowl was when it was a League Cup game versus, I think it might have been versus someone like Coventry, and about 20 of us all got tickets in the same place in Block 19. I think it must have been a League Cup game or something like that. And I was standing with Kelvin, who I know assisted you, and a few other gentlemen. The first and second, the second half was just so funny, because there's about 30 of us and we're all standing at the back of Block 19, all singing songs. I think this must have been 6-7 years ago.
Okay, just to put it in context for the listeners, so you would be the only people there that knew all the old songs, and you're all standing together.
Basically, yeah. So good. I mean, and plus that, there was some new songs there. It was, I think, somebody, I can't remember who it was, but he weren't that bloody good for us, and we all turned around to
that narrows it down to nearly all of those players.
Yeah, and we went, such and such. That's how shit you are. Such and such has scored, like that.
That's in there. That's Arshavin.
Arshavin, yeah, that's how shit you are. Arshavin scored.
In compared to Adebayor.
Like oh, we're not mentioning that song. You'll get me in trouble, Dan.
No, they were saying something like "fuck Adebayor, we got Arshavin" or something like that.
Oh, don't. Like I say, but that was, like I say, that's the most that I've sung, and that was literally 25, 30 of us by the second half, because a few people from other blocks sort of sneaked in the second half with us. And yeah, that would create, I know, like I say, we're moving off the topic of Mark and Matthew's fantastic book, but that's possibly a reason why the songs aren't as varied and as funny these days, because you can't 30 or 40 of you have meet up, have a few beers, and then all stand together and just all have a laugh, which is what it was. Do you know what I mean? Make up a song and have a laugh.
Oh yeah, precisely. Yeah, I mean that was September 2012, Gav, because we do have that song in there.
I said it's the Adebayor one. I read that. It's on the the right hand page at the top right, wherever it was, I think.
Jesus, I had no kids then.
I did notice though that when we were watching the Arsenal, we were touring America, so many of the fans there must have been practicing the songs, because loads of them were singing the songs really, really loud. And that's one thing I do like about the MLS, that they're organised when it comes to the singing. They have massive big sections. They have people banging drums, like my team, Portland Timbers. They actually give out a song sheet, and the order they're going to sing them in, which is a little bit organised. But
don't mention drums, mate.
What?
No,
what game? What? I'm trying to think what it was. I think one of the FA Cup finals in Cardiff, there was a sheet on every chair with a song sheet on it.
Oh dear.
Which made very, very good. It might have been, but they made great paper airplanes. They really did. There was literally, I just remember before the game, I think it might have even been, I think it was the one we bloody lost to Liverpool. But I just remember before the game, it was just like a a swarm. Is it a swarm or a flock? A flock of paper aeroplanes just trying to get on the pitch.
I didn't see you.
Huh?
I was there.
I was behind the goal, up a tier.
Oh, I was so high up, I had a nosebleed.
Right in the middle. Yeah, no, I was quite high up.
I was in one of the corners. Another couple of questions I got for you. I think they're both, from what you've said already, one of them is, would you be in favour of no fucking music at all other than the entrance song is what I've put, because I fucking hate it. I can't stand it.
100%.
Good, that's what I thought. I mean, people may be thinking, miserable old bastards moaning about. I tell you what, if we could get some of the modern football fans that have been going for the last 10 years, take them back to the 80s and go, there you go. This at Highbury is what it was all about. This is why we moan now. No one on their phones, everyone pissing in each other's pockets, Gav putting his fags out on the back of someone's jacket, and all this stuff going on. Me in the toilets, needing me piss flaps because I'm elbow deep in piss. See, all that stuff, that's what made it great. And so much of that has been taken away now. And my final question I've got written down here is, our chant, it's a stupid question because it's obvious, our chants a dying art. Do modern fans get it?
I don't think they're a dying art, actually, because there are some quite good new chants, which we do, you know. I quite like the Ospina one. I know it's simple.
How did it go?
Basically, rather than your shit, it's a spina.
Spina.
All right. Okay.
You know, it's stupid, but it you know, you could imagine people doing it in the 70s and 80s, and I don't think it's as I don't think people are as not uninventive. It's just you don't get the chance to do it. Like I've said, you know, if you're not in the middle of a terrace and you're sitting and you're here and your mates in the clock in and you're on the North Bank, someone's in West, you know, someone's in the East, etc. You haven't got an incentive to do it. So why would you do it?
I mean, the thing is, a lot of the chants did sort of, a lot of the ones that you possibly can't mention as well, did start off in the pubs.
Yes.
I mean, I know the Freddy Red Hair, Freddy's first song when he actually had hair, that was started in the Woodbine. And we were singing it in the Woodbine for ages before it sort of come out and everybody's singing it in the grounds.
It's one of the most original songs, though, isn't it?
What, the We Love You, Freddy?
Because he's got red hair. I mean, you've not seen any version other than the You've Got No Hair. There's been no other versions of that, have there?
No, I mean that probably will list in my top 5 of favourite Arsenal songs.
Yeah, and mine.
Just purely because it was, like I say, it was an iconic era. The Woodbine was just always such a good laugh. It was actually my mate Stevie who done the CD soundtrack for the pub, and it was the same songs in the same order before every game. So you'd literally know by what song was coming on when you need to bugger off to get into the ground. But like I say, that song was on there again, like as a sing-along song, because everybody knows the words to the original song, not pretty much like Sweet Caroline. It just sort of developed into the Freddy song from there in there.
So, Mark, what would be... Gab was just talking about some of his favourites. I've got a list of about 10 of my favourite songs. What's some of your favourite... If you had to pick your top 3 or 4, and then I'll do mine, and then, Gav, you do yours. Just so the listener can have some idea.
Well, my favourite song is from the 60s, I think. It goes to My Bonnie Lies Over the Ocean. If I had the wings of a sparrow, if I had the arse of a crow, I'd fly over Tottenham tomorrow and shit on those bastards below. Shit on. I'd shit on those bastards below. Shit on those bastards below. Which it's before I went to games, and I just
think that was still being sung. That was still being sung in the 80s, mate.
Was it? Oh, I never listened to any.
That's another. I
don't remember any songs, mate. It's terrible. I'm a nightmare. I don't say it's an older song, because if anything is from My Bonnie Lies Over the Ocean, it's obviously going to be an older song, isn't it? I know the Riders still sing it, and they were doing it at the Southampton after the Southampton game when we had the launch book at the Gunners, which was a great time. And that brought back, like you were saying about the Woodbine there, Gav, it sort of all back. I went to the game, saw Darren and Davey and the chaps, Dave, had a nice time, went into the ground, saw an awful game, didn't really matter, the game was rubbish, went at the Gunners, had a great evening, singing, having a laugh. It was, it was a traditional old football experience, which doesn't happen. Exactly, which doesn't happen very often. That's why I enjoyed it a lot, because it was, despite the football being awful, it was a great day.
There was another one, talking about favourite songs. We used to have this thing. I don't know if any other stadiums did it. They'd go with the North Stand, with the North Stand, with the North Stand, Highbury, and then it'd go with the clock end, and then it'd go with the East Stand. And then when it was the West Stand's turn, they were very, very quiet, and then everybody used to laugh at them. What was the reason behind that? Is that because where all the posh people that didn't sing sat?
I don't know, to be honest with you, mate.
Make it up.
It must be.
Gav, you must have some idea. They didn't join in very often, so when they did, the rest of the stands would go, ah.
I think the East and the West Stand, especially sort of like the upper tiers.
Yes, the nice seats.
Of always, since I've been going, I've always been very quiet. I mean, I only remember the East and the West Stand standing up and looking like they're actually enjoying themselves when we won the league in '91. That's the only time that I can actually remember every single stand jumping about and singing and what have you. And much the same as when the North Bank development was made, it was the upper tier there could seem very, very quiet, but then so could the lower tier as well, to be fair.
What was another one of your favourite songs, Gav?
Well, it would be very rude if I didn't mention the name She Wore a Yellow Ribbon.
Go on, and there's a big picture of your banner in the book.
Oh, that's nice. Is that the new one or the old one?
I think it's the old one.
Must be the old one.
Bearing in mind, Gav, that the picture book was about 6 months ago.
Yeah, unless you got that time machine up and working. But yeah, it's a whole single page, just your big yellow banner and the seats behind it. It's really, really good.
Gav, do you prefer the original She Wore, or do you prefer the David Pleat She Wore?
I always struggle with the words of the David Pleat one.
Is that when he got caught spending time with ladies of the night?
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly.
It's all over the back pages of all the newspapers. With it.
Allegedly, he got caught twice. But, yeah, no, like I do struggle with the words to the David Pleat one. I think that was possibly a pub one at the time, and I was probably only 14, 15. Was it 1987 that he allegedly was driving around looking for brassies?
Apparently.
Or looking for the next Tottenham manager's mother. But yeah, no, so I do struggle with the words on that one.
One of my favourite.
Actually, one of the ones I like, Danny, is "A Heart Now Hear the Arsenal Sing."
Is that a Christmassy one? It sounds like it.
It's it's a Boxing Day one, isn't it? But yeah, it's. I think it's Johnny Mathis, isn't it? Has done the "Heart Now Hear."
So how did we adapt it, or didn't we?
Now hear the Arsenal sing, the Tottenham run away, beep, and we will fight forevermore because of Boxing Day.
Yeah.
Ah, that's why it's a Boxing Day.
And it was a couple of Boxing Day matches, which,
back in the days when it used to be a North London derby on Boxing Day.
Yes.
That's something they should bring back. Not for Liverpool fans, they got cut at Leicester on Boxing Day. If people don't know about that, back in the olden days, you used to have the home fixture and the away fixture back to back, didn't you, over Christmas and New Year? So then the fans wouldn't have
Boxing Day.
Far. Oh yeah, it'd be so. Christmas Day. Yeah,
they used to in the old days. They used to play Christmas Day. Yeah.
It's been a while since I've looked at it. I thought it was up until recently, but it wasn't. It stopped in the 70s, didn't it?
What, the Arsenal Tottenham?
No, I mean the Boxing Day games. Yeah, the North London derbies, or the Liverpool derbies, or Manchester derbies, or whichever ones they did, or local, I suppose it should be.
No, they had a few the late 70s, early 80s. Yeah, I mean they.
Go on.
No, I just think you're right. They should bring stuff back like that, but they're not going to, are they? So
no, because that'd be helping the fans. One of my favourites. So I've got a list of loads of my favourite ones. Obviously, the Walking in a Bergkamp Wonderland. That'd be a great name for a podcast if anybody wants to do it. But, another one that I didn't see in the book. So it's one of those ones where it's only ever for one game. You've got Tony Adams on the wing. '98 against Everton when he went down got the ball and he went, "Oh God, I'm the furthest forward player. Fuck it, I'll go with it," and ran down the wing and then put the ball in the corner of the net. Stunning. That's
I think that's in there actually, but it might be up.
While you're looking for that, then one of my other favourite ones, which is one of the cleverest ones, he's French, he's quick, his name's a porno flick, Emmanuel. And then we had the usual Ashley Cole is a fucking arsehole. And up until recently, the last time, not the last time, but when I stopped going in 2008, by the big concrete Arsenal letters, there was someone with a little stereo playing the CD. And as I remember going past, and that was the song that was on at the time. And I thought, how can they get away with doing that? Probably wanting their fair share of that. Let us know when you found it, Mark. But there's another interesting one.
Page 30.
Oh, go on. How does it go?
No, it's just after it's just under the Brian Marwood chant, and we're basically
Brian Marwood on the way.
We just basically said it was used for Tony Adams on the rare occasions where he made a dashing run down the wing.
Once then. Well, there was another one that made me laugh because I don't know why the club did this. It was we were playing Spurs, and I think it was the 2002 double season, and then we were singing double, double, double. The Arsenal had done the double, and a scum from the lane have won fuck all again. Sol Campbell has won the double. And they come over on the tannoy, could you please stop singing that song? so obviously the entire crowd stopped singing that song, didn't they?
Here's another one for you. I'm not sure whether it's in the book, but the stand up if you hate Tottenham.
Of course it's in the book.
Right, no, but there was a reason why it was sung in the clock end so often.
Yeah, go on.
Basically, during the last few seasons at Highbury, especially when it was the paper season tickets, people used to get their season ticket books and then phone up to say it never arrived. So I have two. So at the back of the block in the clock end, there'd be two people to every seat. Right? So what the stewards used to do is try and make everybody sit down. So it'd start at the front and there'd be sitting people down by rows of seats. It'd get to about 10 rows in, and someone at the back would stand up if you hate Tottenham, and everyone stood up again. Right? So that the stewards didn't realise. I mean, they must have known, because like I say, it was like 2 to 3 people to every seat at the back of the clock end, like the last few years at Highbury. But yeah, that went on all game. So the stewards never managed to get everybody to sit down.
Talking about things at the clock end, I remember because I sat in the corner of the east stand right next to where the clock end was, and it was one of the stewards always walked past and he had a cowboy hat on, and the amount of grief that he used to get, he was going, "Yeehaw, cowboy," as he's walking past. As if you could get away with that there. Some other ones that I really liked was the Stevie Bold one. Stevie Bold. He's got no hair, but we don't care. Stevie Bold, because we saw him join the club with hair and leave the club without hair, and so that
it did go quicker, didn't it? Thinking about that,
it certainly did. There's a couple of other ones that I didn't know. On page 13, there's one about Pascal Sigan. That I'd never heard, even though that was in my era.
Well, it's not untrue, is it?
Well, how does it go? It's brilliant.
He's tall, he's shit, he plays when no one's fit. Big Sagan. He's shit, he's French, he's always on the bench. Big Sagan. Oh, there's quite a lot like that. But,
there's one that we can't read out because people might get offended. You know, it is the offence culture we live in. On page 14, the one about Park Ju-young, about not letting him take walk. That's terrible.
It is bad, isn't it? But,
and there's another one we shouldn't really read out because it's a bit adult. The one about Tony Adams and Caprice on page 42. You can imagine Caprice was a model at the time, and that got a bit fruity.
Yeah, Big Sam got in there. In the tradesman's. That
was one of the songs that was on the cusp of being taken out. To be honest,
you couldn't have took that song out.
No, yeah, I know, but it's, you know, people were offended by it and that stuff. So,
and some other one. there's some other ones that I'd forgotten, like Rude Van shits himself, la 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 la. And the Yabue ones I love, like our Ellis, he's only here to see Yabue. They were singing that, and then that other song, Blame It on a Buoy or Bue. That was A Brown Girl in the Rain, fantastic. And we've only got one song relating to Alex's song. That was quite clever. So
that's very clever.
You got anything else you want to add, Gav? Before I've got one listener question, and I've got to ask you both about your favourite non-Arsenal song, and then we shall be finished.
I've got a little bit of song-related trivia if you want it.
Go on in.
Go on in, Gav.
You know London Calling by The Clash?
Yes.
Which a lot of people, I was told this and shown this by my good friend Mark last week or the week before. All the weeks are merging at the moment because I'm so damn bloody busy, which is a good thing. But basically, the producer of The Clash, every day on his way to work, he'd get a cab, and the cab would stop at Highbury, and the groundsman and probably Paddy or whoever was there would let him in, and he would go and stand in the centre circle on the pitch and look around and do a little prayer for Liam Brady or whatever he did, and then he'd go to the studio, and that was where he produced the London Calling by The Clash. It's possibly right up there with one of the biggest Arsenal songs purely because of that.
And the other top Arsenal song that was done by music people was that what was that one that Roger Daltrey did on the last game at Highbury?
Oh, Highbury Highs.
God. That's terrible. Notice that in the book. Is there anything else you want?
Another one. Oh, when the Shaman, when the Premier League started, they used to they tried to have half-time entertainment, and the Shaman, which I do like, and I do like Mr. C, even though he's a Chelsea CUNT. He come out singing
between those last letters. Thanks.
Yeah, singing "He's a Good" on the pitch, and he got dogs abuse. And I think that season was the end of Premier League half-time entertainment on the pitch.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, is that
in the book? Did that make the book?
Yes, of course it did.
Oh, good lad,
mate.
Oh, nice one.
Right, we've got one. No, we've got two other questions. One from Nicky Wilson, a second parter. He says, this is for you, Mark, just about books in general. Do you think Arsene Wenger's autobiography next year will be tell-all or just a safe book to not upset the Arsenal higher-ups?
Do you want a diplomatic answer or a real answer?
No, real answer. I mean, God, Gav's just spelled out the C word here, so we can't get any worse than that.
I honestly don't care. I won't be buying it. I couldn't give a monkeys.
Oh. Yeah, I'll be buying it secondhand off of Amazon, like I buy a lot of my old Arsenal books. I mean, the last Arsenal book I bought was the Welsh goalkeeper. Was it Eastwood? Eastwood, something like that. He was captain of Arsenal. I'm sure he's a Welsh goalkeeper. He was definitely Welsh.
Kelsey.
That might be. Oh, Jack Kelsey. Yeah, I bought that for 1p. And it's,
that's quite a good book, actually. That's quite good. He was a good lad, Kelsey.
I always have a good look on Amazon and eBay for really old Arsenal books, and I like to buy them secondhand because I feel they've led a life. Gav, will you be buying the Arsene Wenger book, or don't you have an open fire?
No. I mean, to start with the fact I'm dyslexic, so reading books is a bit of a struggle for me anyway.
Don't play the pity card now, Gav. It's 7 years too late.
It's a bit longer than that, Dan.
No, you've been annoying people on this podcast for 7 years.
Oh, okay. Oh, I just thought you went my. Oh no, like I said, I've got nothing against him now. He's he's where he is. He's not at ours. Be careful what you wish for.
The last time you on a podcast, on our podcast, Gav, we named it. Gav still doesn't like Wenger, and so you got a lot of grief in the chat in the comments box because of you constantly going on about Wenger. So we're not talking about Wenger anymore.
What do you think? Do you think he'll tell everything, or do you think it will just be a money-making operation like most autobiographies are?
No, he will not say anything that will tarnish his halo with the people who the arseholes who run this club. Don't get me down.
It's gonna be a complete whitewash. Let's be honest.
Yep.
It'll be a complete whitewash, and he might explain how he didn't buy any players and he had to sell to buy players and all that malarkey, and then he also might explain why one year when we're loaded and it's a year before a big money TV deal comes in, he only bought Peter Cech. Do you know what I mean? He might explain that, but I doubt it.
So hopefully there will be a book follow-up to that called Agent Wenger, The Secret Agent Wenger, and it will be by someone anonymous, and it will tell the real story of all the stuff that really happened.
Doubt it.
It'll sell well, wouldn't it? So it doesn't matter what we think, to be honest, does it really?
True.
Oh, it'll sell millions, won't it? It'll
sell huge amounts.
Final question is from Matt L. Roberts. Sorry about that, Matt. He says, are there any chance that you get that for you get too repetitive or get old quickly for any of you?
There's two I don't like at the moment.
Yeah.
I don't. Well, it's not sung too often now. The Ozil song, which drives around a bend, or used to. You know, the one that Gav was talking about earlier, the one we nicked off West Ham.
Okay. Yes.
I don't really like singing it, to be honest. It annoys me. There's other ones like, you know, just Arsenal, and, you know, by far the greatest team the world's ever seen. It's just monotonous. It's just, you know, there's nothing original, there's nothing to it.
So how do you think we could get the people in the stadium to try and
to be honest with you, I don't think there's any way that you will change it.
Even if
the only way potentially would be to get safe seating in.
Why don't they do that?
Well, it's not up to us.
They don't care, is it?
Well, all political parties are saying they're going to do it.
Yeah, so if they did it, right, then there might be a slight change, but I don't think there will be, personally.
No. The only way safe seating would dramatically change the atmosphere in a short space of time would be if they had unreserved seating.
Yes, absolutely.
So basically, you've got like a safe standing area for 2,000 people.
Yes.
And it's first come, first served for your seats.
Yep. Like
that's the only way that.
Yeah. As soon as it's full up, it's full up, and and you can't buy a ticket before, and you've got to buy it on the gate, etc., etc. Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. There's no way other than that.
Although you've put some messages in the chat box. I wonder if they're telling me to get on with it. No, it's not. Right, so we've got about a minute and a half before the 1 hour is up. Have either of you got any songs that had nothing to do with Arsenal or Spurs that you really liked? While you're having a think, my favourite one is the Newcastle one for Philippe Albert. We used to go, Philippe Albert, because everybody knows his name. I thought that was magnificent, named after Rupert the Bear. And Gav or Mark, have you got one?
Sorry.
Have you heard that Philippe Albert one before?
Oh,
no,
no.
It is quite difficult. That's a good question, actually.
Done it first, then we could have started off on a high.
We could have done, I suppose. No, I mean there was one thing that I did know, because when I went to a Sunderland game in I think it was 3 years ago now, because I've obviously got relegated. And I noticed that was one thing that I noticed, the stark difference. There was no music at all beforehand, and then just during the walk on, and just after the walk on, they played "Wise Men Say Only Fools Rush In." All of the Sunderland sang it. It was a really good atmosphere. It was only half a minute, then it stopped, and the game started, and it was completely different to the way Arsenal's start was. You know, they play with the mushy music, and then it would be a bit here and there, and then it was just like nothing. You could talk to everybody around you. You know, very quiet, and then bang, they put that in, and then that was it. Obviously, didn't do it any good for them. They relegated twice, but from a crowd perspective, it was great.
They do tend to be a little bit more in touch with the fans, northern teams, don't they? Because grumpy Northerners. Gav, have you got any songs that you liked?
It's hard, really. I don't think there's any songs from any other clubs that I like, but there's some that I've respected over the years.
Yeah, go on.
Like Z Cars at Everton, Saints at Southampton, Bubbles at West Ham, obviously. A couple of Glasgow Rangers songs that I thought have been pretty good over the years. But that's about it, really. No real sort of nothing that really completely stands out, if you know what I mean. But just a begrudging respect for how they still managed to build an atmosphere before the game kicks off.
That's a crazy idea, isn't it? The owners of clubs giving a shit about the atmosphere. Oh, if only we did it. And obviously we all like Fuck Off Mourinho. Everybody can sing that because that applies no matter where he is because he's never coming here. Right.
I think you've got more money in the swear box than anybody else tonight.
We always swear on this show. That's what makes us special. Very special. Right, so we were meant to go for half an hour. We've gone for an hour. It's just been three middle-aged blokes moaning about the good old days when we all had hair. And no kids, no bills. And football was great because we were shit. Anyway, so Mark, remind the wonderful listeners where they can get your book again.
Amazon and legendspublishing.com.
Yeah. Gav, are you having any kind of wonderful sale now that it's Christmas for She-War?
I'm actually probably no. I haven't really got anything on sale. I tend not to really because I sort of try and price everything as low as I can. But
no, I don't mean as in half price. I mean, what wonderful stuff have you got for sale?
Oh,
what new lines have you got in?
Oh, I've got a nice little. I've got this. I've got a poster that's coming out soon.
Is it you?
There's some lovely bruised banana wrapping paper that I put up today and Christmas cards.
Talking of bruised banana, all the hats that I see people wearing at the Emirates, are they all yours, or is someone else doing them?
The club copied. I done them with. Well, there's a gentleman called Sock Council, and he runs two football-related shops: Sock Council, which does socks, and Football Bobbles, which does bobble hats and stuff. And I'd done a bruised banana hat in conjunction with him. Well, basically, he'd done them. I helped him promote them, and he gave me a load of them to sell on my site. But the year later, Arsenal copied the idea and done them. So if you see one with
over it and
if you see right. Yeah, well, there's no obviously laws on copyright, is there?
No.
If you see one with Arsenal on it, that was bought from the club.
Yeah.
If you see one without Arsenal on it, then that was either bought from me or the fella who runs Sock Council and Football Bobbles. But yeah, no, I've got some nice stuff on there. It's at that time of year at the moment where a lot of the stuff which I hold in stock has sold out and I can't get any more till January. And a lot of the stuff which is made to order, we're getting to the last couple of days where people can order in time for Christmas. And like I say, I've just been incredibly nuts busy, absolutely nuts busy. I think I've packed about 150 parcels in the last 2 days.
Wow.
Yesterday I started packing parcels. This was just from over the weekend. I started packing parcels Monday about 10 o'clock. So I've done all my social media and had a chat with my mates in the morning and done the school run and tidied up and had a cup of tea in the morning. I started packing at 10 o'clock in the morning and I finished yesterday at 7:30, and the only stop I had was for 20 minutes to eat my dinner.
God, my heart bleeds. So, it really does.
It's been like I say, there's worse ways to earn a living, Dan. Do you know what I mean? I talk about Arsenal all day. I design Arsenal-related merchandise.
You do?
I talk to some lovely, lovely Arsenal supporters from all over the world. And
where can they find it?
I have a bit of fun doing it.
What's your Twitter and website in case I want to go and have a
Twitter is @SheWar and the website is shewarshop.com.
And Mark,
I love it.
What's your Twitter, Mark?
Royal Arsenal MRA, I think. I can't remember, to be honest. I've had it for so long.
Thank you very much to Mark for writing the book with not Gary Brazil, Matthew Bazell.
Bazell.
Yeah.
I got it right at the end. Brilliant. And thank you very much for joining us, Gav, being a cheeky, chopsy git that you are.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for inviting me to listen to Mark's ramblings.
Yes, thank you, Danny, for having us on. Very nice, thank you.
It's been a joy. Right, that was a Bergkamp Wonderland. We are an Arsenal podcast.
As soon as I scored that goal, I was fucking livid. Splendid business.